All right, let's talk some offensive line, ranking every offensive line into tiers. Let's just get started. We're going to have 5 tiers, so 1 to 5, 1 being the best, 5 being the worst. Let's start with the worst and work our way up. So starting with the bottom tier. Bottom tier, you have the Vikings, Steelers, Jaguars, Cardinals, and at the bottom of the bottom tier, the Bears, who, listen, I like Tevin Jenkins. I think he's an interesting player. We'll see what he can do. He was a second-round pick in 2021, but, didn't play great. Only had 150 snaps last year. I don't take that into consideration too much, but we'll see what he can do from there. He's probably the bright spot, though, so that's kind of showing how tough this line might be. I like Lucas Patrick fine. I don't think he's great. He's an above replacement level player, so that's a compliment. And Cody Whitehair is solid as well at the guard. Looks like Sam Munster will be the center. I'm not sure I love that. Also, might be Larry Borum as the other tackle. So they got some issues at the offensive line for the Bears. Not too thrilled about that. The Cardinals, again, Cardinals have some guys who I like. I like DJ Humphries. I think Justin Pugh is good for what he can do. I think Will Hernandez is not a bad, 5th best offensive lineman. Rodney Hudson, I didn't think he looked great last year for the Cardinals. I didn't. Now, he does so much else well, like the mental stuff and all that he's still a valuable asset, but he's the strength of this offensive line, and I didn't think he looked great last year. Kevin Beachum, kind of the other guy who, again, these are all, fine players, and maybe that's just all you need is to just have decent players, but I don't know. I feel like none of these guys are good enough for me. I feel like there still is kind of some holes in this, and they're not good enough to kind of overcome those holes, in my opinion. The Jaguars, hey, you added Brandon Sheriff. That's a good move, but, the other 4 guys, which looks like it's going to be Jawan Taylor, Cam Robinson, Ben Bardich, and Tyler Shatley. I don't like any of them. So, really, Cam Robinson's probably the best of the bunch. He's not spectacular. For the Steelers, who I have at 29th on the list, again, I like Mason Cole from the Cardinals. He's a solid center. I think he's fine. I like James Daniels. He's from the Bears. I think that was a good solid move, but Okafor, Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Dotson for the other 3 guys. I'm just not that into those guys. And then for the Vikings, so the Vikings are kind of worth maybe one of the more interesting ones on this bottom tier. They're probably the best of the bottom tier. I do have them at the highest, at 28th on my rankings, because Christian Darrisaw I liked last year. I thought he showed promise. He was a good rookie last year, I thought. Brian O'Neill, not a bad tackle. Maybe not a great tackle, but not a bad tackle. But then for the interior, Garrett Bradbury at center, who just has not lived up to the hype. And then you have for guard, Urza Cleveland, I think is a solid guard. But Ed Ingram, who looks like it's going to be the other guard, who was a 2022 second-round pick, so they just got him in the second round. His analytics are not very good, so I'm not too thrilled about that situation. The other guard position, offensive line, it's a weak link position. And what I have, I think, if Garrett Bradbury is your weak link, okay, he's not great, but you can at least deal with that. But when he's not your weak link, that's when things start to get to be an issue, especially when your weak link is a guy who posted a 73 PFF grade in college. It's concerning to me. Moving on to the next tier, I realized I forgot to adjust the camera, so I'm not sure how Editing Jackson's going to handle that, but I'm sure you are well aware. Apologies to Editing Jackson. But anyways, next tier, Giants, Dolphins, 49ers, Packers, Seahawks, and Raiders. I think Packers might be a bit of a surprise to some people, but again, let's keep working our way up, starting with the Raiders. So the Raiders, Colton Miller is what's keeping this offensive line out of tier 5. Him pretty much alone is keep putting it in tier 4, because Andre James I think is a solid center for them. The guards is really the question mark. For tackle you have Brandon Parker, Alex Leatherwood. Who knows what he's going to do? I don't think you should give up on him just yet. Listen, Alex Leatherwood should not have been drafted 17th overall. There still is some value in Alex Leatherwood. He's not a bad prospect by any means, so I'm interested in seeing what they do there. Denzel Good's fine. He should probably be a starting guard on a bad offensive line, which is what's happening here, so I guess that checks out. The other guard, it looks like Jermaine Illuminor is going to be the guy who only has 1,000 snaps in his 5-year career. Probably should just be a depth guy. So when you add all that on, there's some issues on this offensive line. But again, Colton Miller is really good, so tier 4. For the Seahawks, they put a lot of effort into this offensive line, and I think it worked. It got it better. You added Austin Blythe from the Chiefs, who's a good center. You drafted Charles Cross, 9th overall for tackle. And Abraham Lucas, who was a third rounder they just drafted, who I think will be a good pass protector. So that should be very good. A guard combo of Damian Lewis and Gabe Jackson is not too exciting for me, so that's why they're as low as they are. But again, you're making progress. You're in a rebuild, so you're helping build that up. At 25, I had the Packers, which this is definitely going to be a controversial take for some people. Because, like, you do have Ellington Jenkins and David Bakhtiari, who I believe Jenkins is going to play tackle for them, although I could be wrong about that. But that alone is awesome. Like, that's a really good tackle combo. So, at least in pass protection, they should be all right. But I just don't love this interior. I just don't. Josh Myers at center was, they really are wishing they drafted Creed Humphrey now, I'm sure. He was not great last year. He was not. Maybe, he was a rookie last year. We'll see what he can do, but, I wasn't overly impressed. The guards, Royce Newman, who was a 4th rounder, and then you have, last year and played like it, you have John Runyon, who was a 6th rounder in 2020 and has played a little better than you would expect from a 6th rounder, but still not a star. You also drafted Zach Tom in the 4th round, but I just don't know if I love this strategy of kind of patching up the interior with mid-round draft picks. Just not a great offensive line. And listen, Packers are all right. They have great stuff on the rest of their team, so it'll be fine. But I think the interior is really what concerns me, so it's tier 4 for me. Number 24, the 49ers. Another team that, listen, I think the 49ers have the best offensive lineman in football in Trent Williams. I think he's just the best. He's fantastic. You can trust him to always make his block. And there's so much value in that if you want to put him higher just because of Trent Williams, okay, fine, because he is that good. There were other tackles, Mike McGlinchey, who, again, a solid tackle. I think 49ers fans like him less than I do. I think he's all right. I think he's not a bad tackle by any means. Then for the interior, again, this is where things kind of get a little bit tricky. For, center, it might be Jake Brendel, who has had, 250 snaps in his 4-year career, or undrafted free agent Donovan West. They need a center. The Mac retiring is kind of that's a big hole, gaping hole there. And for the guard, you have, Aaron Banks, who has 5 career snaps. He was a 2nd rounder last year. Maybe, so there's value there. He was a 2nd rounder. Who knows what'll happen? Daniel Brunskill, who was, I think he didn't have his best year last year, but has been solid. Like, he's the best interior guy by far. You also have Spencer Burford, who was a 4th rounder. But again, there's holes on this offensive line, so it falls for me. That's just how I view it. Even though, again, love Trent Williams. For the Dolphins, hey, again, another team that put a lot of resources into this and made it okay. That's what they did. Because you have, Leon Eichenberg, who is just bad. He was horrible last year, so hopefully he can improve. You have Teron Armstead, who is great. He's awesome. I had him as my 7th highest rated tackle in the league. So fantastic. Love Teron Armstead. That's going to help them out a lot for the other tackle. For the guard, they added Connor Williams, which I think is a good move. Get someone who is kind of coming off of, played for a great offensive line and was good in it. And I think people are kind of underrating him because of how good that offensive line was. So getting him, I think, works. Robert Hunt, who I like, actually. I think he's pretty good. And then you have Michael Dieter as the center. So really, it's that one tackle position. I don't love going into a season with Eichenberg as a starting tackle. That's just way too concerning for me. But, and I don't love their center situation either. And it's not like Robert Hunt is a star or even Connor Williams is a star. But you got some pieces here and certainly will be a lot better than the atrocity we saw last season. And same thing with the Giants, right? Like, Giants, some people might have a little bit higher. I'm a little bit lower just because, listen, Andrew Thomas was awesome last year. He's great. The other tackle, Evan Neal, we have not seen play in the NFL yet and might be a bit of a project. I think that he might take a little bit of time. That, from what I watched on film, I think that, I don't think he's quite as pro-ready as maybe a Charles Cross, even though his upside might be higher. You also have Mark Lanowski from the Colts. He was a good guard. That was a great move by them, really. And then Shane Lemieux and Max Garcia will fight for that other guard position. Shane Lemieux, a 5th round pick in 2020. Max Garcia, kind of a replacement level guard, a little bit better above replacement level, but not much better. And then John Feliciano looks like he's going to be a center next year, is from what I'm reading, but he's, typically been playing a guard and has had some decent seasons at guard. So that rounds out the tier 4. All right, tier 3, the longest of the tiers. We have the Chiefs, Rams, Ravens, Bengals, Broncos, Panthers, Saints, Falcons, Texans, and Titans. So, again, let's just get into it, talking from bottom and working our way up. So you have the Titans, who, they're kind of one of those teams, and we're going to see some teams like this in this tier of, teams that I like most except for, one piece. And so I'll still put you in tier 3 because I like the rest of it, but, if that question mark ends up being a bad thing, then it could be really bad next year. So, the Titans, Taylor Lewan, who he hasn't been a superstar in the past couple of years, but, he is someone who has obviously a great pedigree and, great career so far. And even if he's, what he was last year, he's still a solid player. Dylan Raduns, who was a second-round pick last year, who I was very fascinated by. Maybe I didn't love, but I was fascinated by him. Kind of went to a small school, but dominated there. He wasn't great in limited playing time, so hopefully he can continue. Believe he'll probably play tackle. You then have, for the interior, Ben Jones, who I like a lot, Nate Davis, who I think is very good, and then Aaron Brewer, who I think is solid. He's not the star, but, it's enough to get him at least into Tier 3, so there you go. Texans here, so I think for the Texans, what's interesting about them is, though Titus Howard, a guy who, was really good at tackle, but is not good at guard. So it's kind of weird. I feel like that's opposite of how you expect guys to be, but that's kind of how he's been. So keep him at tackle. You'll be all right. You have Larry Tunsil on the other side, so you'll be good at tackle. For the interior, you have, for center, Justin Britt, who's a solid player. He's from the 49ers. And then you also have Kenyon Green and A.J. Cann, who look like they will be the two guards. Kenyon Green was a first-round pick in 2022, but I just wasn't as big of a fan of him, so I'm lower on him than others. Some people really liked him. I didn't, so that's going to color my opinion on this offensive line. A.J. Cann has, played very well in the past. He's been a consistent, solid guard who's had some good years. He was injured last year, so those are the question marks to put him down, but they got some solid players as well. For the Falcons, you have Jake Matthews, who's awesome. You have Caleb McGarry, who's not. But, he was a former first-rounder. There's still some potential there. He's not the worst player in the world. For the guard, love Chris Lindstrom. I think Chris Lindstrom is one of the best players, one of the most underrated players in football, I think. But then you have Jalen Mayfield, who's not very good. He was a third-rounder in 2021 and played like a undrafted guy. He was not good. So Matt Hennessy, another very good center for them. So they have three really good offensive linemen. McGarry, who I think is fine, and then the guard, which I have no idea. You also have a sixth-rounder, Justin Schaefer, who you drafted. It's maybe he'll be the guy that can finish this up, but I don't know. That's kind of my concern about the Falcons, is just the last guard position. But they have some stars here too, so just an inconsistent offensive line. And going from the Falcons to their heated rival, the New Orleans Saints, who drafted Trevor Penning in the first round, and also have Ryan Ramczyk. So if Penning can work out, that could be a really good guard situation. They lost Armstead, but Penning should be, he won't be Armstead, but he should at least be all right. Eric McCoy is their center, who was great as a rookie, but it's kind of just been good since then. So hopefully he can return to that rookie form. And then for the guards, again, it's kind of Anders Pete, who's solidly, consistently solid, and then Cesar Ruiz, who was a first round pick, but has not lived up to the hype yet, and that's kind of their biggest question mark, along with just a rookie playing tackle. So that's kind of their thing. For the Panthers at 17, so we have all of the NFC South minus the Buccaneers right in a row. Akeem Ekwanyu definitely helps the Panthers' offensive line. They needed that. And when you have Taylor Motton, who's been a great, or at least a very good tackle for his first 5 seasons, you feel good about that tackle situation. I think Ekwanyu will be able to step in right away and play well. Now, the question is going to be the interior a little bit. Not as bad as some of these other teams, but, Bradley Bozeman, who, was okay his first 3 years, but then had a career year last year at center for the Ravens. So we'll see if that was just a fluke or if that's what he really is. You also have, for the guards, you have Austin Corbett, who's from the Rams and played very well. And then the question mark is Brady Christensen, who looks like he'll be the starter there. He was a third-round pick in 2021. But he played some tackle and was very bad at it. So the hope is that with a guard, that'll work out. And if it does, this could actually be an actively good offensive line. They've done a great job at patching it up, I think. So from the Panthers, who kind of have a good offensive line except for one question mark, the Broncos have a kind of, maybe not the star talent that the Panthers do, but they just have consistent guys. And Garrett Bowles, you could argue, is a star at tackle. Billy Turner from the Packers, if he can stay healthy, that would be cool. You also have, for the guards, Dalton Risner, Quinn Marinez, and then you have Lloyd Christianberry as the center. So those are the 5, and they're good players. Billy Turner is the biggest question mark there, but if everyone's healthy and everyone's playing, there should be no real weakness on this offensive line. But did it have the star power that some other offensive lines do? I don't know. The Bengals at 15, which I gotta say, love 4 of these guys, right? It's the same thing last year, kind of. Last year I didn't love 4 of the guys. I liked 4 of the guys and hated the right guard, and the right guard they haven't fixed. I mean, that right guard position of Jackson Carman and Hakeem Adeniji fighting for that spot was the biggest issue in the Super Bowl, and they have not fixed that. So that's my concern about the Bengals, and that's why they're where they're at. Now, they're still mediocre because you still have Jonah Williams. You added Leo Collins, who can be really good, so that's the tackles. You added Alex Kappa, who can be really good. And you have Ted Karras, who, been a good center. I'm assuming he's going to play center. You have all guys who are like, fringe top, probably have had like a top 10 season at their respective position. It's just that guard position that's concerning for me. It is. Moving on to 14, we have the Ravens here, who drafted Tyler Linderbaum, who I loved out of the draft. I think he'll be great. I'm concerned about Tyre Phillips, who looked like, or Tyre Phillips, it's spelled Tyrv. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I'm concerned about Phillips here, who is a 2020 third rounder and played like it, quite frankly. So what's going to happen there? You also have Kevin Zeitler, who's good. Ronnie Stanley, who, if he's healthy, is unbelievable. And Morgan Moses, who's just, the definition of the guy you pay some money to. You don't have to overpay for him, and he comes in and plays solid football for you. Love guys like Morgan Moses. The Ravens are smart. As long as they can get that other guard position locked in, they should be all right. But they might not, so that's why they're still tier 3. The Rams here. So, listen, I like Joseph Noteboom. He looked good last year. I'm not willing to crown him just yet. He got paid by the Rams, and I'm interested in seeing how well that's going to work out. But he did look good last year. He's going to be a replacement for Whitworth. You also have Rob Havenstein, so he should be a solid guard, good guard, great guard. Yeah, but I'm underselling it. Rob Havenstein's really good. You have David Edwards and Logan Bruss to be the guards in this scenario. Bruss was a 2021 third rounder, so we'll see what that can be. That's kind of a bit of a weakness, and Brian Allen's good. So the Noteboom question mark and the Bruss question mark are certainly question marks, but Havenstein, Edwards, and Allen should all be good, so that's why I had them here. And then finally, tier 3, the best of tier 3, but still tier 3, is the Chiefs, who, a lot to like about this Chiefs offensive line. In fact, I love 4 of these guys. It's another one of those situations. Creed Humphrey is awesome at center. Joe Thuney is awesome at guard. Trey Smith is good at guard. And then Orlando Brown is good at tackle. So it's really Andrew Wiley, the other tackle, which, is not the best. And that's why they're down. Like I keep saying, offensive lines can sometimes only be as good as your weak link, and that is a weak link. Tier 2 here, Patriots, balls being the Washington football team, Bills, Colts, Jets, and Chargers. So those are the 6 going from bottom to top. You have the Chargers, who their question mark for sure is going to be, right tackle and then Zion Johnson. Zion Johnson, first round pick. I think he's a plug and play, going to be a solid guard right away. Might not have a ceiling some other guys have, but has a higher floor than most guys have. So I think he'll be a good guard. Matt Feeler and Corey Lee are the other 2 interior offensive linemen who are scheduled to start. Lindsley being the center. That should be very good. Rashawn Slater was awesome as a rookie. So all that's good. The question is just, are we doing another Storm Norton year? Let's not do another Storm Norton year. But I guess that's what we're going to have to do, probably, unless Trey Pipkins is going to come in. But I feel like he should be depth. So, at least if you get an injury, you should be all right. Pipkins can be solid depth there, but I just don't love Storm Norton. It's fine. You have 4 other good players. I put you in tier 2 because of that, but Storm Norton's he's not the worst starting offensive lineman in the NFL. He's far from it, but I just don't think he's great. The Jets here at tier 2. The Jets' offensive line was fine last year. Zach Wilson made them look worse. And, I'm a Zach Wilson fan. I liked him out of college. But that's really what happened, I thought. And the receiving corps made them look worse. Just, quarterback holding on to the ball for forever. Yeah, an offensive line's going to look bad. But, Mekhi Becton, who was also hurt last year, so that was part of it. But he's very good. George Fant's a good offensive lineman at tackle. You also have, for the interior, Laken Tomlinson and Elijah Vera Tucker are the 2 guards. Tomlinson from the 49ers, who should fit that scheme perfectly because it's the same scheme, and that should work out perfectly. Elijah Vera Tucker, I always thought that trading up to the 14th pick to get him was kind of a head scratcher at the time, but he's a fine guard still. It was fine as a rookie, has room to grow. Connor McGovern, the center, who was the 9th highest graded center according to PFF last year. So you put all that together, no real weakness in this offensive line, and that's really what I like about it and why I have it at tier 2. As for the Colts, so the headliner here is going to be Quentin Nelson at guard. The other guard is a question mark. You have Danny Pinter, who looks like he might be the starter, who was a 5th-round pick in 2020, and he looks solid in a small sample size. He had around 200 snaps last year, so you hope that that's true and that's legit what he is. The kind of the X factor is going to be Bernard Rainman, who will he be guard? Will he be tackle? He played guard in college, and I had a 1st-round grade on him. He went into 3rd. I was surprised by that. So typically when that happens, the NFL is right and I'm wrong, but I liked him a lot more than the NFL did, so we'll see what happens there. But he could potentially get some starting time maybe at guard, maybe at tackle. Possibly guard would be the easier spot for him because, Matt Pryor and Braden Smith are the 2 tackles who are both good. So that's the thing is there is a question mark here. Ryan Kelly is the center, by the way, who didn't have his best year last year, but he's usually very good. I'm not concerned about him. At least not overly concerned. It's offensive line. Who knows what's ever going to happen, but not overly concerned. The real question to me is going to be just, that guard position, but I think Rainman should be able to come in and be a good day 1 guard if he has to be, so I'm not overly concerned. At number 8, I have the Buffalo Bills, who they added David Quisenberry, who is good from the Titans. He should be good. You also have Deion Dawkins, so 2 good tackles right off the bat. And then you have, the interior. There's some good stuff, maybe not great stuff here. Mitch Morse, Roger Saffold, Ryan Bates, Saffold, another former Titan, and even Greg Van Roten, a former Jet. Those are really 4 guys who can play. Morse is the center there. I think that should be all right. I like that you have depth there. None of those guys are stars, but you don't need stars. You need guys who can play. They can all play, so I like that offensive line. The Balls here, the Washington football team with, again, an offensive line I like. Chase Roullier, who, was PFF's 4th highest graded center last year. He should be good. Their guards are fascinating to me. So they got Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner. Norwell from the Jaguars and Turner from the Steelers. Both guys who had good seasons for previous teams. Norwell with the Panthers and Turner with the Panthers. So because of that, that's what I find fascinating. And maybe what it is you get a change of scenery and they'll live up to their hype that they had and be great players again. If not, they were still fine with their former team. So you're not taking a huge risk there. So I actually like that move a lot by Washington. And then for the guards, Charles Leno Sr. is, he's been a consistent top 20 tackle for most of the past 5 years. Samuel Cosme is the other question mark for me. But, he was a 2020 2nd-round pick last year, and he played solid. So as a whole, I like the Balls' offensive line. Always love the Balls. Moving on to number 6 with the Patriots, you have, tackles maybe is the weakness of this offensive line with Isaiah Wynn and Trent Brown, but that's a pretty nice weakness to have. Like, those are, 2 solid tackles. And then the interior, Michael Onwenu, who is unbelievable. He's fantastic. Cole Strange, who, that's the question mark, right? I mean, that's we don't know what's going to happen there with Cole Strange. Patriots love him. I'm not going to say I'm smarter than Bill Belichick, but that's a head scratcher right off the bat. And then David Andrews, who's great. So, 2 great guys, 2 good tackles, and then Bill Belichick's project, which he tends to be right about. So they're tier 2 instead of tier 1 because of Cole Strange, but, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they end up tier 1 next year. And finally, tier 1, the Eagles, Buccaneers, Lions, Browns, and Cowboys. So these are the 5 that made tier 1. Starting off with the Cowboys, who, Tyron Smith played over 800 snaps last year and was the 2nd highest graded Pro Football Focus player at the tackle position. Tyron Smith is back. Love me some Tyron Smith when he's on the field, and that was very fun to see him be on the field so much. So you got that locked up. The guard, Connor McGovern, should be fine, so I'm not, that should work. And yes, just to be clear, that is a different Connor McGovern than the one that plays for the Jets. It looks like he's going to play tackle, either him or Terrence Steele, but, shouldn't be a disaster there either way. For the interior, Tyler Badaz, who I'm pretty sure I did not say his name right, but he's been a good center. He's graded well, all of that good stuff. Zach Martin being the star guard, obviously, one of the best offensive linemen in football. So you got Tyron Smith and Zach Martin. Your offensive line is going to look good. And then you have Tyler Smith, who is the 1st-round pick, who felt like a reach at the time, but again, who knows? They like him. He is the question mark on this offensive line for me, but I love the guys that they have good, well enough, and I still think Tyler Smith will at least be solid enough that I'm going to give it tier 1. Number 4, we have the Cleveland Browns, who, even though they lost J.C. Treader, they added Ethan Pocket from the Seahawks, who has been he should be a solid center. And then for the guards, you have Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, two of the best guards in football. So you feel pretty good about that. And then for the tackles, you got Jedrick Willis, who first round pick maybe hasn't quite lived up to the hype, but has still been good. And then Jack Conklin, who is awesome. So, really good offensive line, very complete, and you have stars on it. We are getting to the top of the list here. You can tell. The Lions are another team that obviously has a fantastic offensive line. Penei Sewell doesn't even feel like the strength of this offensive line with how good they have, because you have Taylor Decker as the other tackle position for center, Frank Ragnow. So 3 well-known offensive linemen. It's not easy to get well-known at the offensive line position. And then for the guards, you have Fataya H, we'll call him, and then Jonah Jackson, who are 2 very solid, consistent guards. Well, actually, I guess I would say Fataya H has kind of been more inconsistent, but it typically reverts to solid, and then Jonah Jackson has been consistent. So you got that all working together. You feel good about that offensive line. No weaknesses, got plenty of strengths. Not quite as good as the top 2 I have, though. Number 2 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you could argue that this is a bit high for Tampa Bay because, listen, so right at the bat, Tampa Bay has, maybe the best top 4 out of any team in football, with Donovan Smith, Tristan Wirfs, Shaq Mason, and Ryan Jensen. Wirfs is an all-pro, Shaq Mason, the consistent star, Ryan Jensen, consistent star, and Donovan Smith's played well. Don't let his early years color your opinion. He's been good these past couple of years. The question is at the guard position. It's either going to be Luke Goedeke or Aaron Stinney as the other guard, and that is a bit of a question mark. Aaron Stinney has played well when he's been in there, but again, I don't know how much I want to give confidence in that, but I also think Luke Goedeke should be able to fill that role well. And okay, the rest of this offensive line is so good. I just like it. It's tier 1. Maybe you could quibble with, I tend to not pay, worry too much about should you be number 2 or 3, because tier 1, that's when I do my evaluations. It's all, are you in what tier? So they're tier 1 for me, clearly. And I think that they deserve number 2. I think that the stars definitely make it worth it. And their question mark isn't that big of a question mark for me. Number 1, though, got to go with the Eagles. Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson at guard, who played well there. Jason Kelsey at center, who's amazing. And then the other guard, Isaac Seumalo, who's still solid. So Philadelphia loves their offensive and defensive lines, and this is an awesome offensive line. Just fantastic. Studs all over the place. Easy number 1 for me. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Why am I stupid? What did I get wrong? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.